Morning. Welcome to the Pick-A-Dee Pick Show. I'm your host, Anvil. As always, we dedicate this to my dearly departed buddy, Jerry. So before we start today, I came across an interesting kind of interview where they were talking about some of the mental blocks that we as fantasy players suffer. I think it's really applicable to the daily fantasy players. And the first is we have this, what did they do last week? They call it past... can't think of the word now that this psychiatrist used. But, looking at a past performance, somebody might have had a big game, for example. You look at, let's take, Carson in Seattle. He may have had a really good game. And you think, oh, okay, he's a shoo-in because look what he did last game. Well, but look at last game, was it against a tough pass defense? Maybe they had to establish the run a little bit more. Against, say, their upcoming game against the Jets, they might not need to establish their run game. They might rest their running backs a little bit since they'll have success through the air, as we'll see later on in the show. Look at what the past performance is. For example, when I pick soccer teams, a lot of times I throw out guys who have scored a goal in the previous game because it's very unlikely they're going to score again based on how many goals they have on a typical season, divided by the games. I mean, if a guy's scoring once every 3 games and he scores 2 goals in one game, well, the odds are sort of stacked against that one, against him scoring again. The other bias that we suffer from, that was the word, bias, real hard word to remember apparently, we have this bias against bad teams. Today we're going to be looking at Seattle versus the Jets, and it would be a good example, except the way Seattle typically plays bad teams is they typically just shell them. They open fire and shell them, kind of like the old Patriots used to be able to do with Brady and all the guys they had at one point. They didn't really care. But a lot of times, a bad team isn't going to take very much to beat. So you have to look at those kinds of things. And the reverse is true. There's stinky teams out there that are not going to win the game. They're probably going to get blown out. But that's going to lead to them having to play more in the passing game to try to keep it competitive or even try to win. So, don't always throw out a player just because he's on a crappy team. Look at the situation and determine, am I going to get the looks? So anyhow, we're going to jump into our ticket now. I'm going with the NFL Spike. It's a single entry. I kind of prefer those because it knocks out all the people putting in multiple variations and things like that. And, I've never really looked at the actual numbers on something like that, because I just stick with my gut a lot of times, So let's get this baby queued up here. So we're going to be skipping the Monday night game. I think that might be a better single game play, to be honest with you. Instead of trying to work some of the players in, I think we have enough players on my list right here to fill out the team. All right, so we'll let this load here. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Wow, boy. Top 2 on that list, man, of available players. McCaffrey, he banged himself up again. I had him in my works season-long fantasy. I got 3 games out of him. He was my number 1 pick. Needless to say, I did not do well. And Dalvin Cook, quite frankly, he's going up against Tampa Bay. They've allowed the 4th fewest points to running backs. And again, the reports last week was that Dalvin was starting to get a little worn down. We might start to see him taper off a little bit in his usage. So it's not a great game. There are better plays out there. And if you're going to blow your budget on one player, blow your budget on a player who has a good matchup, But we're going to frame our ticket. And our ticket, as I mentioned, I was mentioning Seattle. Seattle is going to be our big one. The main reason here is that a sneaky play would be the Saints against Hurts. The rest of them are, I don't know. I mean, Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. Yeah, I don't see where the opportunities there are. Arizona against the Giants. That's a really good cheap play, but we're not saving enough. We're really just not saving enough, and the Saints. They're on the road. I rather put my budget right on Seattle because we're not going to save a lot of money. And speaking of Seattle, we're going to come back onto their quarterback Wilson. We're going to have to blow the budget on him. I think he's going to have an outstanding day. I think they're going to put the pedal down and never let up. Some of the other guys, they've got some good matchups. You can't go wrong with Mahomes and Rodgers, obviously. Murray is going up against a tough defense. Hey, Bear, if I was saving a little bit more money, maybe I would start to think about some of these guys, but I'm not really saving that much. A Bear would save me $700. Deshaun Watson, is $1,000 savings. I don't know if I'm going to need to use that there. We're going to put in Wilson. Running back. We're going to splash a little bit here. As you can see on the screen here, Jacksonville is ranked pretty low. They've give up the third most points. So I kind of think that Henry should be in there. And we'll save our money elsewhere. Now I have another play that I think is going to be somewhat on the cheap side. So I'm going to slide down to the tight end position. And yeah, it does look like there's a little bit of, whoa. Wow. Okay, so our top guys are, 8,200, 7,100, 60 for Gronk. Wow. It's nice to see Gronk back, but I'm still bitter as a Patriots fan. But the guy I was looking at right here, Logan Thomas, I think he's a cheap play because he ranks about 7th on the list overall for, the points that he gets, the contributions that he makes. I think despite San Francisco having a great pass defense, I think Logan's going to have to be involved. And it is a savings. So we're going to use him there. Now let's move back to our running back spot here. Got a couple guys on the list that I want to look at. Eckler, if he gets involved in the passing game, I think he would be worth the money. I really like Jonathan Taylor. We're going to put him in right there. Taylor, he's got a 5-star matchup. I still write down Oakland. I'm still transitioning to Las Vegas. I love the move, but I can't seem to remember it. But yeah, I say a lot, and I really hate that. But it's the way I speak, and I'm trying to get better at it. But bear with me on that. We were talking about Taylor. Las Vegas gives up the 4th most running back points. They've given up 14 rushing touchdowns. That kind of bodes well for the guy. Moving to wide receiver, we've got a few guys here that will probably save us a little bit of money. I am looking at Keenan Allen. I think he's a admirable play. Admirable play? I don't know about that. Godwin, the Vikings give up 3rd most points. He's coming back from a little bit of an injury, but it was thumb, if I remember correctly. So I don't see how that's really going to affect his ability to play. I'm going to put him in. And we're going to scroll down here. We got to find one of our value plays. You got guys like Robbie Anderson, not on a great team. Marvin Jones, not on a great team, but they're still going to see looks. But we're looking a little further down here. I'm looking for... Oh, there's our guy, Coty. He did all right for us last time. I'm wondering if I already went... right there. Tim Patrick. He's a great place to save money. Sometimes you don't hear about certain guys. And then when you scratch the surface a little bit, you find some remarkable statistics out there. Patrick is on par for the same production as Hopkins and Diggs. That's big time. He has more 40-plus yard receptions than Tyreek Hill, a guy who's known for long receptions. And we're saving just a grip of cash at $5,400. Look at all that. I mean, that puts us at an average player of 5,700, and we've only got 2 spots left to go. You know, we've only got 2 spots left to go. We're gonna continue to scroll down here and see if we see anything else. Sometimes you can save money, but it's not always the best place. It's not always the best thing to simply pick somebody to save money. I mean, it's kind of like the philosophy sometimes you do in soccer where you take a zero just to build your lineup around, build your lineup. Let's go up here. We're going to look at our average here because it's a good way to kind of determine where we can go. We've got some decent talent in there. Sammy Watkins, the guy I like. Fulgham, that's going to be hard to trust somebody in Philly right now. Pittman, he's one of those guys that he's always due for a breakout. I like Lazard. Lazard, yeah. But I don't know if we're getting enough value out of him. I'm looking for another player here, Robinson, and he's not seemingly appearing on my screen. Oh, there he is, Allen Robinson. I really like him this week because he's going to see some backup coverage. Roby's out, so he'll see some backup coverage. And Houston, they've given up the 11th most points, but he doesn't really fit into our price range right now. Corey Davis, he's a good option, but again, not really fitting into our price range. I would rather go a little cheaper here and then see what we can dig out. I don't want to use Judy because, well, obviously we're already using a Bronco. Mims. Patterson sees some a little bit of the ground going up against Houston. I think they're going to have to throw everything at Robinson. So I think Patterson is going to be our answer this week. He's not necessarily on our list. Cote, I want to use Cote, but he is a little banged up, and Chicago is good against the pass, whereas Houston's not as good against the pass. And whoever's going to be slinging the ball for Chicago is, they're gonna have to duel Watson. So we're gonna put Patterson in there, and then that leaves us $5,900 for our flex player. Not a great budget, but we're using some of our top guys early on. Let's see what we can sniff out here. We got $5,900 to play with, so let's get into that. I mean, we know we can save a little bit of money. We could step up to like somebody like a Gaskin, but come on, they're gonna have to be throwing Gallman again. They're gonna have to throw to keep up. Yeah, I don't see anything. I mean, Gordon, we could reach up for a Gordon or a Hines, but again, we're kind of taking a risk already just reaching up to those guys. I would prefer, obviously, a running back here, but we're looking for overall production. Adrian Peterson, wow. Going up against Green Bay. That's a very interesting proposition, and I feel like, Adrian Peterson used to be a stud of fantasy. Not so much anymore, but I believe his running back, the other running back, Swift, I believe is in concussion protocol. Badoo. He's done all right. It's not saying if Swift's out or not. What we can do here is we can look up and go Swift. Look at that. There we go. Yeah. He is questionable or out with illness. Let's see. He's questionable. So he's going to be at a very reduced capacity, I guess we could say. So that really makes Peterson an interesting option. Very interesting option. And in fact, I have to say, I think I'm going to go with him. I think I'm going to go with him. I don't see a lot of guys down here that really make me too confident. Lindsey, Lazard. Although the thing with Lazard is we do get to latch on to Detroit. I mean, on to Green Bay against Detroit. That could be a really good thing. I don't really know. Chark, wow. Denver against Carolina. Ooh, these are tough. These are really tough. These are the tough calls that we have to make sometimes, right? Hope I'm not wrong. Hope I'm not wrong here. But I feel like we're going to go solely based on matchups. Because again, is Lazard going to be involved? I don't know if he's going to have to be involved as much. I don't think, I think Aaron Rodgers should have a field day against Detroit. He should be able to throw to whoever he wants to. He'll spread the ball out, but, I don't know. So we're going to go with AP. Look at that. Going to enter that lineup because I'm locked and loaded on it. I like it. Love it. I want to have it on a salad. So there you go. That's who we're looking at. So we got we're splashing our money on Wilson, Henry, and the Seahawks. Saving a lot of money with Tim Patrick and Cordell Patterson. They're both, I believe, due for a good game. I'm not worried about Patterson's average right now, just to let you know. He has a low average of 4.4 points. Averages. Stuff higher and lower. And I think this is a really good game for him. I think it sets up well. So we'll see. Good luck, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye.